You'll hear a lot of stories in Greg Smith's barbershop, but you've never heard one quite like this. A hair-raising tale worthy of Shakespeare himself. In fact, it even begins with a man named Shakespeare. 43-year-old Abraham Shakespeare works odd jobs at Greg's barbershop in Lakeland, Florida, about 40 miles east of Tampa.
And you were friends with Abraham?
Very much. He was a cleanup guy at my barbershop.
Until one day, Abraham stops coming to work.
A couple weeks passed, and I ain't seen him. So I was like, man, where's Abraham at? So I called him. I was like, man, did you come in and clean the bathrooms? You ain't cleaned the outside yet? He said, I hit the lottery.
Greg thinks Shakespeare is merely being theatrical, but it's true. He is the lucky winner of a whopping $30 million.
I was standing in the front of the barbershop cutting hair, and I could see right out of my door. I seen this black BMW pull up. I'm like, who in the devil is that? It's like, man, I hit the lottery.
Abraham takes one lump sum of $17 million instead of yearly payments on the winnings. He buys a $1.1 million home in a gated community near Lakeland and some new cars. But he also proves to be a generous sort. In fact, he's a guy who can't seem to say no, loaning out money left and right.
He did it out of goodness of his heart. A whole lot of them took advantage of it. But you know what? He gave it to them. They didn't take it. He gave it to them.
He even insists on helping out his old boss, Greg Smith, loaning him $63,000 after his mother's house goes into default.
I didn't want to borrow no money from Abraham. I had gone to the bank, mid-Florida, and gotten a loan. He actually left first and went and got a cashier's check with my name on it. I say, but before I do that, I need to get with my accountant and we draw some papers up so we do it official. Because I'm going to do you the same way I was going to do the bank.
But Shakespeare is ill-equipped to handle his newfound wealth. He cannot read or write and knows nothing about investing. 11 months after winning the lottery, Shakespeare meets a woman named Dee Moore. She runs a successful nurse staffing agency near Lakeland and also tells Shakespeare she wants to write a book about him and help him manage his money.
I gave him the benefit of the doubt. You know, I'm okay, that's what he wants, that's fine.
The book is never written, although she does make some home movies of Shakespeare, including this interview question.
Do you get tired of people asking you for money all the time, Abe? Give me your opinion on it.
I've been tired. A year ago.
So where you want to go to?
It don't matter to me. I'm not a picky person.
Are you going to miss your home?
Yep, I miss it, but life goes on.
But within 6 months of meeting him, Moore has managed to transfer ownership of Shakespeare's home and control of his bank accounts to her company before giving herself a nice vacation.
Does she seem genuine?
No.
In fact, of the total $570,000 loaned out by Shakespeare to various people, more than 2/3 of it is owed by Dee Moore's company. She also starts going after the money owed him by all his debtors.
Anybody that had any kind of debts with him, she pushed him away from them so that she can get involved, as she was taking over.
About that time, Shakespeare's friends realized they haven't seen him in a while. Dee tells them that he's laying low and wants to get away from the constant pressure of people looking for money.
What is Dee telling you?
He's on vacation, he's in Miami, he's in Texas, he's on a cruise, he's over helping the people in Haiti. He can't get back across because of the earthquake.
A cousin of Shakespeare becomes suspicious. He files a missing persons report with the sheriff's office. Dee is now on police radar, and they want to talk to her.
Polk County Sheriff's Office began a pretty long-term investigation.
Detective Greg Thomas of the Hillsborough Sheriff's Office knows the case very well.
And over a couple of months, they basically were able to determine through cell phone work and just surveillance that obviously Dee Moore had something to do with the disappearance of Abraham Shakespeare. It was not known if he was just missing or if he was dead.
Dee turns to Abraham's good old friend, Greg the barber, for help.
She's crying. I'm like, what's wrong with you? She was like, everybody think I did something to Abraham and this and that. I said, well, listen, did you? No, Abraham's on his way back.
And then she makes such an incredible request that to this day, Greg wonders how he could have gone along with it. But he does.
She said, listen, I need you to do me a favor, to buy me some time till Abraham come back. Can you tell Abraham, mother, that I'm okay? I said, I'm okay. I want you to pretend to be Abraham. I said, man, I don't know. She said, I tell you what, I'll give you $300 to make the phone call. I said, okay, $300? Yeah, I'll make a phone call and say you okay.
She chose to take Abraham's mother to a restaurant where it would be loud. As they were sitting there at the table, the phone rings, and Dee Dee tells Abraham's mother, that could be your son. Why don't you go ahead and answer it? It could be Abraham calling.
She said, hello? And I pretended to be Abraham. I was like, hello, what's up, mama? You know what I'm saying? And she was like, who is this? And I said, this Abraham. I just got a little cold and I'm kind of frustrated. She said, okay, baby. She said, when you coming home? I said, I'll be home real soon. And you could tell the police I'm okay.
Up to this point, Greg has given Dee Dee the benefit of the doubt on her Shakespeare story.
I'm not thinking something wrong with him. At worst, he done went and hid from Dee Dee. That's what I'm thinking. Okay, Abraham tired of you, he done went and hid from you.
But he's getting more suspicious by the day.
I called Abraham, hey man, call me.
And he wasn't calling you back.
Never called back. Then I got this text, I'll call you in a little while. So I'm looking at the text, I'm like, something ain't right.
And Abraham had a 7th grade
He
education.
don't even know how to spell.
He can't text, he can't spell.
No.
And now it looks like Greg Smith is on the cops' radar too. They catch up with him after they observe Dee Dee handing him $300 for making that phone call to Abraham's mother.
They jumped out the car, they was like, put your hands on the car. I said, hold on, dude. What did I do?
At first, it looks like the barber has been taking a little off the top, but cops have an incredible request of their own.
At that point, the investigators told Greg Smith that Abraham had been reported as a missing individual, and he had the option of assisting them with their investigation.
He said, we got suspicions that this woman has did something to Abraham. We need some help.
In a matter of months, Greg Smith goes from cutting hair to possibly cutting a deal with police that could turn his world upside down.
If you ain't got nothing on me, let's clear the slate. I ain't the snitch on the streets.
At that point, with that meeting, it became pretty evident to Greg Smith that there's a lot more going on than what Dee Dee Moore was telling him initially.
Greg must decide whether to be or not to be an undercover informant in the investigation of Abraham Shakespeare's disappearance. The decision is an easy one.
Listen, this dude bailed me out of a $63,000 debt. He's my friend. He helped me when nobody else would.
Police fit Greg with a body wire for his next meeting with Dee Dee Moore, who befriended Abraham and took control of his newfound fortune. But that's not the barber's style. He's already uncomfortable with the arrangement.
Dee Dee Moore was trying to see was I wired up one day, and she grabbed me, and I told her, hey, get your hands off me. You know what I'm saying? Hey, matter of fact, get out my car. You don't trust me, I don't trust you. Get out my car. I'm scared to death because I think she done touched it. They was trying to make me be a leader. Trying to make me force her to do this and force her to do that. I told them no. I'm from the streets. I know how to do this.
Greg came up with a better idea. Believe it or not, it hit him when he was drinking his daily can of Red Bull.
I took the Red Bull can and I shaved the top of it off so that the inside cap will pop open. I took a small recorder and set inside of it and put styrofoam in it so it wouldn't move, so it felt like something in the can.
He places the can in the center console cup holder.
I was smoking cigarettes, so I would use the top of it. It's like I was dumping ashes in a Red Bull can. I was like, that was my ashtray. The whole time, it was my recording device.
It worked. It was just a simple tool that he utilized and put together, and it clearly recorded what we needed.
What follows is an actual undercover audio captured on Greg's one-of-a-kind Red Bull recording device.
I only been talking to you because I'm trying to find Abraham.
Exactly. Well, hey, I'm all in, baby.
I feel like if Abraham was okay, he would contact me by now because he transferred all that stuff into my name, and then he was supposed to leave and, not come back for a while.
Yes, Dee Dee likes to talk. Even when local TV news gets wind of the investigation, she's happy to talk to them, too.
Abraham went and had a life of drama, a very hard life of drama because of the money. The money was like a curse to him, and now it's become a curse to me.
But cops are turning up the heat on Dee Dee.
She was feeling pressure from the investigators. They were knocking on her door all the time, wanting updates, when's the last time, you heard from Abraham and so forth. And so she had to continue this evolving lie.
She starts telling Greg about a character named Ronald.
She's making up an imaginary guy.
Ronald was crazy. Ronald was the guy that she was trying to say that was threatening her and actually was a drug dealer that possibly killed Abraham.
I guarantee you, Ronald has killed him. I just know it because the man threatened to kill my son. I don't even know Ronald's last name.
And that's where it goes into the part of the investigation where she's seeking somebody that's looking at a significant prison sentence to take the rap for Abraham Shakespeare's disappearance and murder.
Taking their cue from Dee Dee's script for a Shakespeare cover story, cops bring in a new actor onto the stage.
That then puts in motion utilizing a covert officer to play the part of an individual about to be sentenced to a lengthy prison term. She's asking him to remove the body of Abraham Shakespeare, dispose of it, and then once he begins his prison sentence, to basically admit to the homicide.
And then, what do you want?
50 grand.
Can I do it in payments? Because I don't have that kind of cash. I'm going to have to sell something.
I'm gonna need 10 up front. Once I do this, make sure my boy get the money.
Okay. See, what I'll do is I'll get it and give it to his mom.
The undercover fall guy agrees to the deal for $50,000 to be paid to his family after he goes to jail. Dee Dee knows a deal when she sees one, but there's one more thing cops want in the bargain.
Basically advises Dee Dee Moore that he will need some form of evidence to convince the investigators that he is the perpetrator of the crime.
It's been a gut-wrenching saga for Greg the barber. His friend and employee, Abraham Shakespeare, goes missing after winning millions in the lottery. Now, Greg is working undercover for the police, trying to get justice for his pal. And when Dee Dee Moore tells him she needs to set somebody up for the murder of Shakespeare, his worst fears for his friend are confirmed.
It made me feel like, okay, mission's not over. It's not complete.
It had to be heartbreaking to learn that Abraham was in fact dead.
Yeah, it was heartbreaking, but at the same time, it was a blessing to be able to help him out like he helped me.
But Greg has to keep it together. The trap has been set, with an undercover cop posing as a man willing to take the rap for killing Shakespeare. All Greg needs to get is the murder weapon from Dee Dee. And police add one more thing to their wish list. They also want Greg to get her to tell him where the body is buried.
See, I tell her, listen, if we're gonna convict this guy, let me get the gun. If you got it, I ain't saying you got it, but if you got it, if you know who got it, bring me the gun that killed him so we can pin it on him.
So she turns this gun over to you.
She brings me the gun.
It was a Smith & Wesson hammerless 38 special with an integrated laser sight, which we had found receipts of her purchasing at a local gun shop and actually training and using the firearm at the local gun shop range.
Then she tells me about where Abraham is buried at.
Dee Dee takes Greg to a property she owns in nearby Plant City, Florida, and points out a big fresh slab of concrete in the yard.
When she took me to the body, we had a piece of rebar iron that was over by the concrete. I told her, I said, listen, I'm not gonna get out the truck because I don't want nobody to see us together. What I want you to do is take that piece of steel and go set it on the concrete where his body's buried.
That same day, police move in to take over.
We had secured the entire property with deputies. and we were going to hold it until the following morning when we can get heavy equipment and the right personnel out there to begin basically an exhumation.
More than 9 months since he was last seen alive, the body of Abraham Shakespeare is recovered at last. And Dee Dee Moore is arrested.
Well, I hope you're still gonna look for the people like that.
Well, I've got one of them in my hands right now.
It appears that they probably got into some type of disagreement over his money. It appears that she placed 2 rounds in his abdominal region and chest region.
Police say that Moore had her ex-husband dig a hole with a backhoe, telling him only that she needed a pit to burn trash. They say Dee Dee dumped the body herself, then hired a contractor who unknowingly covered it with concrete.
Her excuse that she made was that she wanted basically a solid concrete pad to park her boat and some vehicles on.
And Dee Dee has plenty of other cover stories as well, like who really killed Shakespeare. Remember Ronald, the character she made up? A drug dealer who was threatening her?
You were able to contact Ronald, and Ronald told you right where that body was at. Really? But you can't get a hold of Ronald, but you got a hold of Ronald then. Come on, it's over.
I told him I had to meet him back later to make sure.
Dee Dee, there's no Ronald.
Again, we confronted her about this fictitious person, and then she went on to another statement blaming her son, who was 14 years old at the time, that actually shot and killed Abraham Shakespeare at her office.
Dee Dee Moore goes before judge and jury, charged with murder in the first degree. She is found guilty and sentenced to life in prison without parole. Crime Watch Daily paid her a visit at the Lowell Correctional Institute in Ocala, Florida, to get her story.
Were you surprised that Greg had set you up in the manner in which he did?
Well, see, I thought he had something to do with Abraham's death to begin with. I was surprised that he was dealing with the cops. And why? Question why? You know, they have to have somebody charged with the body to get at my assets.
The harder you push, Dee Dee, the farther down the rabbit hole you fall.
If you did not kill Abraham Shakespeare, who did?
If I knew that, I don't know. I know there's people out there that do know.
Did you help conceal the body once Abraham was killed?
Absolutely not. If I killed this man, I would have not even dug. Why, if I know he's in my yard, why would I go and keep searching? The cops can't do nothing to me. They can question me and I can refuse. I had no clue. And I kept digging. I wanted to know what happened. They threatened they were gonna kill my son, chop him up in little pieces, and put him on my doorstep.
Did you know that Abraham Shakespeare had been murdered and shot 2 times?
After the fact, later, way when the investigators are coming after me, eventually they tell me what really happened.
You had absolutely no idea that Abraham had been murdered, buried underneath concrete in your backyard.
It was money. It was money. We buried money.
You thought money was being buried.
Uh-huh.
In this version of Dee Dee's story, she claims she and Abraham bury $1 million under the concrete. But that leads to an obvious question.
How does Abraham get in that hole instead of the money?
There is perfect evidence to prove what I'm saying. When the money was buried, we wanted concrete over it so that water wouldn't get into it, because he's gonna leave it there for a while. He's gonna go away, and when he comes back, we wanna be able to dig it up.
I've really honestly haven't met people who bury money in the backyard.
No, you will. After this show, people will come forward. They won't tell you where it's buried, but they're gonna tell you, because there's plenty of people out there.
For the record, the only money found in that hole exists in Dee Dee's mind. But minutes after saying she has no idea who killed Abraham, she suddenly remembers. It's a name we all know.
Who do you believe murdered Abraham and buried him in your backyard?
Ronald.
Meanwhile, Greg Smith went back to his barber shop. He lost his good friend Abraham, but he sure has some great stories to tell.
He ended up sweeping the barbershop. Millionaire, straight millionaire. Millions of dollars. He still come to sweep the barbershop, right? He picking up pennies off the ground. I was like, man, what is you picking pennies up for? He say, boy, I got millions of dollars, but pennies make dollars. I tell him, boy, if you don't put that penny down and get out of here, you know what I'm saying? It's just the funny things that...
You wish you would have never won the lottery.
Yeah. Yep. Abraham don't win the lottery. Abraham still live.